Africans of Reddit, what cultural differences separate your country from the rest of Africa? As a Kenyan, we run. But tbh, that's just one tribe. We have 42 of them, same as most African countries with 30 plus tribes. Since most countries are less than 60 years old, we don't tend to have a real national identity. Most Africans identify first as their tribes and then as their country. However, outside Africa we become more patriotic, I guess, since we need an identity, I guess. Ghana, Uber is available here since one of the execs of the company is Ghanaian. Also, our funerals are a really elaborate party, as shown in that meme. I spent about a month in Ghana in 2011. Was invited to a party in a village in Volta. It was a huge dance party, and as anyone who's been to Ghana knows, it was hella fun. I noticed a bunch of people surrounding a dude on a chair in the corner. Went over. Turned out it was a dead guy who'd been embalmed and was just sitting there while everyone paid their respects. I'd actually been invited to a funeral. That was an experience I'll never forget. Edit. Now that this comment has blown up, let me tell you that you should go to Ghana on your next vacation. It'll change your life. For real. Such a difficult question to answer. Even within countries, there are significant cultural differences. Example, I'm Kenyan, from a community called Kikuyu. Kikuyus are as culturally different from, say, the famous Maasai people, as a Scotsman is from an Welshman, even though both of those are British. In Kenya alone, there are 45 different communities or tribes, think Scottish, English, Welsh, Northern Irish, etc. as the tribes of the UK. And most other African countries are also the same. This results in wide-ranging cultural differences even for closely neighboring countries. So things like language, marriage customs, rites of passage, handling death, etc. are all totally different and alien to communities living just a few hundred kms from each other. For example, in the Dinka tribe in Kenya's neighbor South Sudan, the men scar their faces as a rite of passage. That sounds just as bizarre to me as it would to a European or a Chinese person. So the short answer to what cultural differences separate your country from the rest of Africa is just like community, we'd need #6seasons and a movie to explain it all. It's really hard to find differences between my country Algeria and both our neighbors Morocco and Tunisia. Our cultures collide in many aspects. Europeans even refer to us as North Africans or Maghrebins. This is interesting. I don't know much about Algeria, but when I visited Morocco, my tour guide basically bitched about every one of Morocco's neighbors. I thought there must have been some significant cultural difference. We'll do some research into what the go is there now. We don't think of ourselves as Africans. And any reference to African people, we mean Black African from the south. Egypt, Algeria, Morocco. North Africa, right? Not gonna lie, as a Moroccan, this thing annoys the most about my country. We're Africans. I really don't get why people want to deny that. Zimbabwean here, that is a difficult question because the colonizers bunched up different kingdoms irrespective of their political boundaries. Zimbabwe and South Africa are legally separated by the Limpopo River. However, the Venda Kingdom occupied that region, and we now have a situation where families suddenly found themselves separated by the political boundaries which they never knew existed. The same holds true for Botswana and Zimbabwe, where the Botswana and Kalanga speaking people exist on both sides of the border. Same thing with Zimbabwe and Zambia, where the Tonga exist on either side. Again, the same phenomena exists between Mozambique and Zimbabwe, where the Enda Kingdom doesn't respect the imaginary lines put in place by the Berlin Conference. The same holds true for all Southern and East African countries I know of, hence it becomes hard to distinguish along cultural differences. Because our nation-states are a melting pot of varied cultures. As an Igbo from Nigeria, I don't really know, to be honest. There aren't really any practices held unanimously by a whole country because there are so many different groups there. People often ask me if I speak Nigerian, but that's a dumb question because there are 3 major, and hundreds of minor, languages in Nigeria, and most African countries are bound together by arbitrary legal boundaries rather than actual cultural similarities. Yes, I speak a little Igbo, which is the language of my ethnic group in the south, but I have nearly no grasp of Hausa and Yoruba, the other 2 major languages, not to speak of Efik, Ibibio, Tiv, Fulani, and on and on and on. In reality, differences in culture can vary so widely that I, as a Christian in the South, am honestly risking my life if I were to go to the majority Muslim North and openly practice. TLDR, this is the wrong question to ask. Instead, ask what differences separate your ethnic group from others. Everyone has talked about our cultural differences as Africans, and this thread has been fascinating and illuminating. But what I love most about being African is the tie that binds us all, regardless of which specific country we come from. I'm South African. I've lived in Zim for a year and Botswana for 9 years, and when it comes to sport or any type of recognition on a public scale, I shout just as hard for my brothers and sisters from other African countries as I do my fellow South Africans. We cheer for football players from Ghana, athletes from Kenya, swimmers from Zimbabwe, musicians from Nigeria, the list goes on. Being African is an identity that transcends skin color, one that rests deep within your soul. All colors, all countries, all cultures, we are all Africa. Nkosi Sikleli Africa. Wife is from Liberia. She says their jollof rice is the best, and anyone who thinks otherwise is deluding themselves. She is adamant Nigerian jollof is a scandal. She explains this with profound certitude and gusto. In her culture, if you ask someone if they can cook, they only mean West African foods. Anything else does not count. They have a word for food that applies to their cuisine and another for all other food on earth that translates more closely to feed. I also observe an intense elitism about their food. Her tribal language says its punctuation. Period equals O, question mark equals SE, comma equals PA. Liberians generally like the United States. There is a mild cult of fandom around George Bush. Obesity can be considered a status symbol. Names have meanings, but they take a long explanation in English. For example, her sister's name means I have been there for you, but you have not been there for me, so you cannot expect more from me. They get a new birth certificate upon adulthood that has their picture on it. I've seen it pretty strange. They use imperial units. I'm from Algeria, North Africa, the biggest country of Africa actually. We speak Arabic and French, and we have our own dialect that Arabs don't understand. We are considered Arabs, but we are also Berbers and proud. Since we had Ottomans and France in Algeria at some point, we won and got our independence from France. We have a diverse culture influenced by these two. Since Algeria is so big, every region has its own traditions and food, and even the dialect differs. Also, we share many common things with our neighbors. I hope one day you will visit Algeria. Sorry for my English.